Hello and welcome to my screencast. Today I am going to be showing you how to configure PHP and MySQL on Mac OS X Leopard. So I decided on the Mac development environment because I thought that typically screencasts on net tutorials have been Windows based, so I figured I would show you how to do it on Leopard. So let's get started here. First, we're going to download some necessary files. Then we're going to configure PHP. Then we're going to configure MySQL. Then we're going to test, verify everything's working. And then dive into a little basic, simple PHP stuff. So let's get started. Alright. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is download a few files. So we're going to need a text editor first of all. If you're not familiar with those, you could use TextEdit, which is the standard one on Mac OS X, but we're going to try and avoid that. If the best one is, in my opinion, TextMate. There's a nice 30-day trial for you to test it out. There's also BBEdit. That's a very popular one. Both TextMate and BBEdit, however, cost money. And then finally, if you want one that's free, I recommend Text Wrangler, which is also very good, and it has syntax coloring. That's the key. You want something that has syntax highlighting like you see there. So first we're going to need to download that right there. Second, we're going to need to download a MySQL package. Now, the reason we're not using a pre-built LAMP or MAMP, whatever you want to call it, MAMP is the Mac, Apache, MySQL, PHP, we could, which is what usually is done, use something called MAMP. And MAMP does everything for you and packages it into this nice little thing, but we're not going to do that because I think it's worthwhile to see exactly what MAMP is doing, and also because Leopard comes pre-installed with so much of this stuff already that all we need to do is enable it. So you'll learn a little more, and then if you want to do MAMP later, go for it. But for now, we're going to do it manually. Okay, so you go to dev.mysql.com, click Downloads, MySQL Community Server on the left here. Scroll down, we're going to be Mac OS X. We want the package format. Package is like a DMG, you're probably familiar with those. And depending on what if you're still on PowerPC, I'm on Intel, so I'm going to do here. Say no thanks, you don't have to sign up. Pick a mirror. I would do it, but I have already downloaded it. So let that go, it's about 60 megs. Now, once you're done with that, while that's downloading for you guys, what we're going to do is we're going to, by default, Leopard comes pre-installed with Apache, which is a web server, and it also comes with PHP 5. However, PHP by default is not enabled, so what we have to do is manually enable it. So bring up the terminal. If you've never done that before, open up Spotlight by hitting Command Space, type terminal, hit enter, and it'll pop this. Yours will probably not look like this, but that's no big deal. It'll just be a white background, and all you have to do is type the same exact commands I will type, but I will explain what I'm doing as we go along. So what we want to do is we want to move to the Apache directory. So what we're going to do is type cd, which means change directory, /etc/apache2. What that's going to do is it's going to take us to the etc apache2 directory as the change directory command. And in this directory, there's a file called httpd.conf. This is where Leopard keeps this configuration file. And this is a very important config file for Apache. And this is where Leopard stores it. So what we're going to do is we need to edit something in that file, because what we need to do is enable PHP on our Apache installation. So what we want to do is type sudo, which will elevate our privileges to root access. Currently I'm logged in as my account, which is Jim, but what we need to do is elevate our privileges to root. So what we want to do is type sudo, which elevates us, pico, httpd.conf. And what this will do is it'll open a terminal text editor that everyone has by default in the terminal window. Then ask me for my login password. I'll type that in and then hit enter. And up pops Pico, which is the default text editor. Terminal text editor, sorry. So what we do, there's a lot of stuff in here. We're looking for a particular line, so we're going to hit Control W, and that'll bring up a search box, as you can see down here. We're going to search for PHP. Okay, so here we go. It found us a PHP line, as we can see right here. And what you want to do, you'll notice that yours has a little pound sign like this line does on mine. Yours will have a pound. You can use the arrow keys to move over, and yours will look like this. Yours will be pound load module php5 underscore module. But what we need to do, that means if it has a pound sign, that means it's commented out, meaning it's not enabled. So what we want to do is uncomment it and enable it by default. So what you want to do is use the arrow keys to go under the L and then hit your delete key on the Mac keyboard, and that will delete that pound sign. So now, by default, PHP5 will be enabled. So now we just need to save. So if you look at the bottom here, it says write out. So we hit Control O. It says file name to write. Hit enter. Successfully wrote 484 lines. It's given us that. And then we hit Control X to exit. So now we have enabled PHP on our Apache installation. So we're done with that part. Now what we need to do is we need to go back. Hopefully your download has finished by now. You can just close the terminal window for now. We'll be using it in a second. What you want to do, here's your MySQL package. What you want to do is click this first one. You want to launch this. Go through the necessary steps here. Agree to all the license requirements. Install it, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to because I've already done this exact same thing, but I have made no changes. So just follow through, keep hitting continue, and eventually say you're done. Okay, now you want to go and we want to install the startup item. What this does is that it will start up MySQL automatically for us when you log into your computer. It's not a resource hog, not a big deal. We want to do that. So click this one. Continue, continue, blah, blah, blah. Go through the installation. Finally, one more thing. We want to install the preference pane. Preference panes are automatically put in your system preferences window like this. You're probably familiar with this. So what we're going to do is you want to install this preference pane. Mine is already installed, as you can see, but you'll just double click it and it'll ask you to install your preference pane. It'll probably ask you for your password. What it'll do is it'll put this MySQL thing down here, as you can see on mine. When we click on it, it says MySQL server status, and it lets us stop and start the MySQL server on our machine. And you can either say to automatically start it as startup, blah, blah, blah. But for now, we want to make sure it says running. Okay. So now what we want to do, we're done with this. So you can trash our little MySQL crap there. Now what we want to do is open up System Preferences. And if you've never done this before, we're going to go to Internet and Network, Sharing. Now, here it says Web Sharing is on. This is the part. Yours might be off, might be on. Regardless, we just changed something in our configuration file, if you remember. We just changed the httpd.conf file. So what we need to do is restart our web sharing. So you want to just uncheck that box, and then check it again, and it'll say starting. Now it's on. So you can even go to your little computer's website, and oh, there we go. Apache's currently running, and it's working. Or you can go to your personal. See, each account on your computer now has a specific thing, and this is how Leopard does it. So you have your computers and your personal, which is in your home directory. Now the way that works is when we want to make files, your web server is located in your home directory, mine's Jim, and then your documents, downloads, etc. In your sites directory, this is what it's loading. See this? This is that exact same file. So when we click that, this is the site that it's loading. We can also get to this by going to http://localhost. That tells us that this computer, that's what localhost is. Then we want underscore, tilde, your username, and then index.html. And there you go, same file. So that time, instead of just loading the local file, you actually see the web server hosting that file for you. Okay, so now what we want to do is we need to configure make a few more tweaks to MySQL. So, actually first we're going to edit PHP. So, what you're going to do, open up Terminal again. And what we now have to do is we installed MySQL. We enabled PHP for Apache. We installed MySQL, but now we need to make PHP aware of MySQL. MySQL, remember, is a database. You can store a lot of different information in it. And the key with these two is that they work together. You need PHP to interact with a MySQL database. So to do that, we have to edit a very important file called php.ini. So on this installation, the PHP, so we want to cd into /etc. So there you go, /etc. Just so you can see. What we want is a file called php.ini. So you see right here, it says php.ini. That's the file we want. However, this is a very important file. And just to make sure we don't mess anything up, we want to keep a backup of the current one just in case. So what you want to type is sudo, which elevates our access again, cp, which stands for copy, php.ini.default php.ini. So what this is going to do is take our current php.ini file and make a new copy of it called php.ini.default, so we always have what it currently is just in case we mess something up. So you want to just hit enter there. I've already done that, so I'm just going to erase this, but you wanted to hit enter. Nothing will happen. It'll just copy it, and then if we run an ls, which lists the current folder directory, we can see that. You can do the same thing and follow along. If I could find what I'm looking for here. php.ini, you should also have this php.ini.default file. Just like that. Okay, so now what we want to do, we can clear the screen there. We want to sudo again, and we want to edit that php.ini file. So we've already saved it, just in case we make a mistake, but pico, php.ini. So this is open up Pico, the text editor that we saw earlier. Asked you for your password. Okay, so here's Pico and the php.ini file. So, again, we want to hit Control-W, and we want to search for this. We want to search for MySQL.default_socket. You can see what I typed right down here. MySQL.default_socket. Then you want to hit Enter. Okay, so it took us to this line, default socket name for local MySQL. This is the line in our PHP file which tells us where PHP can connect to MySQL. So this is the line PHP needs to connect to MySQL. Yours will currently just say MySQL.default_socket equals blank. See how these just blank? What you need to do is add this part right here, which I have already put in there for you. /tmp/mysql.sock. Just type it in. Use your arrow keys to go over right here and type that in. We want to type /tmp/mysql.sock. Then what you want to say is Control-O, then Enter to write to the file. Successfully wrote 1,200 lines, whatever, who cares, and hit Control-X to exit. So, now that we've done that, now we can clear. Type CD. If you just hit one CD, it's a little terminal lesson, it'll go back to our original fresh terminal. So now we're back as if nothing's ever happened. Okay, so now we're back. What we want to do, again, since we just made more changes, we want to restart that Apache server. So, previously I showed you how to go into System Preferences, blah, 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 Web Sharing, You can uncheck this box. Well, now we'll show you a different way. So you can type sudo /usr user sbin, just like a secure bin, Apache CTL. That stands for Apache control. So that's our web server control. And then type config test. It says syntax OK, so that's good. And then sudo, same thing, user /sbin /Apache CTL, restart. Now, some of you might run into a problem and it'll give you some error. If that happens, what you want to do is type sudo /user /sbin /Apache CTL, stop, and then after that, on a new line, type sudo /user /sbin /Apache CTL, start. Depending on your installation, it can be a little different. Okay, so now that we've done that, now what we want to do is we want to make it so we can, from this command line, we want to be able to launch and connect to our MySQL database. So, what we want to do is the following. First, what we want to do is this terminal window has a profile which determines what commands we can run from this command line. So when I launch this terminal, I have a set of commands. You can't really tell from just like this blinking cursor, but I have a set of commands that I can run. What we need to do is add one or give it more capabilities so we can run the MySQL command just like that. So what we want to do is you want to type the following command. We want to sudo pico, and we want to make a file called .profile. So, even if that file doesn't exist already, it'll launch Pico and it'll do the .profile stuff. So, here's the .profile. And what we want to do is we want to add a line. Export path. Yours might be empty, yours might be full, doesn't matter. Just want to add this line. Export path equals $path :user/local/MySQL/bin. What that will allow us to do, and then you want to Control O and Control X as you normally would. I'm just going to close it since I've already done it. What that will do is allow us to call MySQL right from the command line. So it says, I just tried to call it, and it says access denied, blah, blah, blah. But we haven't gotten that far yet. Now what we want to do is you want to type sudo MySQL _secure installation. And it'll open up this nice little installer for us, since we've already installed. So it'll say enter current password for root. Okay, well, I've already done this, so I already have a password. So it says you will just hit enter because you have no password for root. So you just hit enter. Then it says change the root password. I am going to say yes so I can walk you through this. So it asks for a new password. Type in your password. It won't tell you what you're typing in for security purposes, but it is typing. Hit enter. Then it'll ask you to re-enter it. Then it's going to ask us a few more. It says success on the new password. Then by default, anonymous user. These are some security features. Say remove anonymous users. Yes. Disallow remote login. Yes. Remove test database. Yes. You're hitting a capital Y on each of these and just pressing enter. Reload privilege tables. Yes. And that's it. Now we have successfully configured a password. That password's very important now because we're about to use it to log in to our MySQL database. So, now what you want to do, clear the screen, make this a little bigger there, okay, clear the screen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to log into MySQL. So you want to type MySQL-U. That means MySQL, we're going to specify the username. U stands for username. So you type MySQL-U space, then the username. So in this case, it's the root user on MySQL, then -p, which means we're going to specify a password for that root user. This is the password we just set, not your login password, the password we just set in that wizard that we just completed. So you hit enter. It says enter your password. I entered my password. Now it says, welcome to the SQL Monitor, blah, blah, blah. Server version 5.0.67. Good stuff. So now we're at a MySQL command line. And this is not a regular command line. This is the MySQL command line. So, just to test to make sure this is working. It is, but to show you. MySQL is all about databases. It's a relational database. So type show databases, then colon. All MySQL commands end in a semicolon. So then hit enter, and there you go. Your MySQL is running. We have no really databases. Those are just the default ones, but that is our working MySQL installation. Now you can just hit exit. It says bye. Now we're back to the regular command line. So now that we've done all that, what we want to do next, you can exit the terminal for now, is we want to actually show you some PHP and MySQL stuff. So we've got MySQL working. We're not going to touch on MySQL with PHP in this screencast, but it's all set up for you now for a future tutorial maybe. And now what we want to do is show you that your PHP installation is actually working. So what we want to do, just to be safe, and to remind you how to do this, we're going to go back into System Preferences, Sharing. Going to uncheck this to stop web sharing, then check it again to start it up. Okay, that's working. Now, you want to open the Finder. You want to go into your home directory and then Sites. And for me, what I've done, you can follow along too, is I've made a new folder called Screencast. And in this screencast, I've made a little file. But we're going to delete this file. Well, actually, we're going to open it. What you're going to do is make a file called Screencast in your Sites directory. And open TextMate or whatever editor you chose at the beginning. What you're going to do, this is just some basic HTML tags right here. You're probably familiar with those. Just simple, very basic structure here. And in the body, what we're going to do is we're going to make our first PHP command so you can see what exactly PHP does. So, PHP is in a tag. Since we're embedding it in HTML, we're going to enclose the PHP in a tag. And how you do that is you type this. You go, so in the body tag, you can copy what I have so far. Type left caret, question mark, PHP. So then it opens the PHP tag, and we're going to type echo hello world. Oh, how about hello? That's more fitting. Okay, and then make sure the tag is closed. My text editor automatically does that for me. Then save the file, and you want to actually save as. What you want to do is save that file in our screencast directory that we made in our sites directory. So it'll be sites, screencast, and then call it hello.php. PHP is telling it that this is a PHP file, and we want it to be a PHP file because that's what we're going to test. So there's some PHP. So now you can close that. So now what we want to do, you can just minimize this. I'm going to open a web browser. Anyone will work. I'm going to type the following: http :/localhost/tilde, your username, mine is Jim. Then, remember, now, just like this brings us to our sites directory. Okay? So that's the index file. That's the default. However, what we want to do, we put it in another folder. We put it in the screencast folder. So what we want is the screencast folder. So we just do your thing /screencast. It is case sensitive, I believe. Then you want to type the name of the file, which we named hello.php. You want to hit enter. Okay, and there is Hello Net Tutorials. However, this is why PHP is powerful. If we click View Source, you'll see almost exactly what we had in our file, except this is the difference. Here we have, it just says hello. It just has our echo. It doesn't have echo. It doesn't have the PHP. It just has the hello nettoots. So what does that mean? It means PHP, unlike JavaScript, is a server-side scripting language. This is the power of it. So when you access this page, the web server, in this case our computer since we installed it locally, runs this PHP command, gets the output, which in this case is just hello net tutorials, and before it ever sends it to the browser, it removes then, all the browser knows then is what the output of that PHP command is, which is hello. So when we run it, and then we view the source, we don't get any of the PHP stuff because the server has already done that. There's no need for the browser to know about it. So then, say we go back, change this to hello world, save it, reload the page. Hello world, again, if we view the source, hello world, there's no PHP anywhere. So that's how that works. And now, we'll show you a little famous command here. Exit all this, delete all that stuff. What you want to do is type PHP for the PHP tag, and then PHP info. This is a little default PHP command. Hit save. Then go back to the web browser. http://localhost. Your username, screencast, same file, hello.php. And now what you get is a detailed listing of our PHP installation. And this basically tells you in simple terms, you were successful installing PHP and configuring it. Congratulations. It even shows you your MySQL linked. That's the right version, 5.0.67. And that is about it. That gets you all up and running with PHP and MySQL without the use of MAMP, and I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching.